Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Alien Force Retrospectives. And today we're going to be looking at episode 43 of Ben 10 Alien Force, Vendetta. And yes, I do enjoy saying it like that. In this episode, we are introduced to a one-time villain. This villain, what happened, in the beginning of the episode, we see this villain breaking out of what is essentially a prison in the Null Void. He manages to break out of his cell very easily, knocks the guards aside. He runs off. He manages to get out of the pretty much. He just manages to escape the prison with very little trouble. After that, we cut to we cut to Ben, Gwen, and Kevin as they're dealing with a group of Forever Knights, and after they take care of them, Kevin drops Ben and Gwen off at Ben's house while he goes to see his mom, as apparently he actually does have a place that he stays at. Only in this case, he does have a house. Well, he doesn't actually stay in it. He lets his mom stay in it, or maybe she lets him. I don't know, and I don't really care. Either way, he and his mother share a house. Well, however, when he goes home to see his mom, he finds the place has been torn apart. Like there's a hole in his door. Everything's just been thrown all over the place. And when Kevin gets in there, he's just worried. He's wondering what's going on. Why are they doing? What's going on? Mom, are you okay? What's going on? And it turns out his mother is fine. As it turns out, she was out getting groceries when all this crazy shit went down. And they're both wondering what the heck's going on. Kevin's mother, first thinks it's a robbery, but Kevin notes that it couldn't be the case because anything valuable that they had is still here. And among the wreckage is apparently a silver picture frame containing a picture of Kevin and his dad, but it's been smashed. They're wondering what's going on, and so Kevin's mom says that she has something she needs to tell Kevin. At which point we cut to Kevin meeting up with Ben and Gwen while Ben is trying to trick Gwen into doing his homework, but he's interested in finding a guy called Ragnorok. And yeah, that's the guy that broke out of prison. Ben and Gwen, of course, don't know who the heck that is, so he leaves. And when Ben and Gwen ask to know what the heck's going on, he tells them to butt out. So of course, Ben and Gwen are curious as to what's going on. So they go to see Grandpa Max, and it turns out he does know Ragnorok. And this is also where we get to what this episode does, so to speak. This is an episode that introduces a retcon, that kind of helps reinforce a retcon in Alien Force. Here's what I'll explain this. Remember back in my Dark Star Rising vlog, I mentioned how Kevin said his dad was a plumber, and how apparently Kevin looked up to him, and I pointed out the problems with that, because if that was what he looked up to, then why did he become a villain in the first place? Well, this is also where we learn. Well, it turns out that Devin Levin was not just any plumber, he was one of Max's partners. What had happened was that Max and Devin had actually confronted Ragnorok for his last job, the job that got him sent to the Null Void. Apparently, here's the thing, Ragnorok apparently pretty much what he does is that he siphons the energy from a solar system's sun, and then he sells that energy to the highest bidder. And he was planning on doing that to our sun, but he can't do that unless he has the key to his ship, which it turns out Devin stole. So, as Max and Devin are fleeing, Ragnorok goes after them, and manages to disable their ship, getting on board and fighting them. The two do everything they can to fight him off, but their weapons aren't doing well, and it eventually comes down to Ragnorok holding Max ransom holding Max for ransom. Well, kind of holding Max as a hostage and demanding that Devin give him the key. To which Devin responds with, "I'm no chance." And so Ragnorok tries to shoot Max, but Devin jumps in the way and gets hit by his blast, because Ragnorok can shoot energy blasts from his hands. Well, in the momentary distraction, Max was able to grab a Null Void projector and was able to suck Ragnorok into the Null Void, but unfortunately, Devin Levin dies from his injuries. As such, Ben and Gwen realize that Kevin is going after Ragnorok, so they make it their mission to try and help they make it a mission to try and find him and help him capture Ragnorok. In the meantime, we then cut to Kevin and Ragnorok as Kevin manages to catch Ragnorok as he's apparently going through, I suppose you could say, Devon's old storage shed. Yes, sorry, something's worth in my mind. He's going through Devon's storage shed looking for the key to his ship, but Kevin confronts him and they get into a battle, and we kind of see just how good of a fighter Ragnorok is. As every time Kevin tries to fight him, he's able to either brush off or dodge each of Kevin's attacks, and it pretty much he pretty much curb stomps Kevin, and he's just a man. And Kevin introduced himself at the beginning of the fight, so when Kevin he keeps telling Kevin what he wants Kevin to tell him where his key is, and Kevin says, even if I knew I wouldn't tell you, so he decides he's going to just kill him anyway. But that's when Ben and Gwen show up, and they manage to fight Ragnorok off just enough, but we also see that he's very durable as he's hit by many of their attacks, and he just brushes each of them off until he gets bored and leaves. Kevin is, of course, angry with that. Kevin, of course, blames Ben and Gwen, but they say they're going to help him whether he likes it or not, and so they're trying to find out where the heck is the key. So, because if he wants the key, then they have to find it before he does. So, Gwen thinks that Kevin may know where the key is, but he just doesn't know he knows. So Gwen is able to use her powers to see inside his head, and she does in fact learn where the key is. That picture frame that Kevin found earlier, the one with his smashed picture of his dad in it, it turns out that the frame is the key. As it turns out, it can shift and change its form. Of course, however, once they go back to Kevin's house and get it, Ragnorok shows up, knocks the three of them aside, and is able to shift the key into his form, and he manages to put the key inside a little mark on his forehead, which in turn causes the ship to appear because apparently it's been hiding in hyperspace this whole time. And so after that, he teleports back to his ship, saying that he's going to siphon the energy from their sun, that the world's going to die, blah 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 blah. But just before he teleports away, Gwen actually manages to get a bit of his essence and his energy, so they're able to use that to piggyback on his signal, and get to his ship. When they get there, Kevin suggests that the three of them split up, but and when they do, Ben and Gwen are wondering why Kevin's being so pushy. And Gwen realizes that Kevin may not be going by the book for this one, as she says they need to find Ragnarok before Kevin does, and because she knows that he might do something that he'll later regret. But at that moment, Kevin comes up and says that he's found Ragnarok, and so Ben and Gwen follow his instructions. Only it turns out he duped him, as he sent them right into an escape pod and sent the escape pod back to Earth. After that, at which point he goes to confront Ragnarok, who at this point has already activated his ship and is already starting to siphon energy from the sun. As such, Kevin and Ragnarok duke it out, and it turns out that, Kevin is able to, it turns out that Ragnarok isn't Kevin's big concern right now, as while he does have a vendetta against him, Ragnorok is siphoning energy right from the sun. So Kevin begins smashing the terminal, and of course Ragnorok's saying, "Are you mad that this is all delicate? If something goes wrong, it could cause an implosion." And yeah, that just encourages Kevin to try harder. As Kevin manages to smash it, and it manages to reverse everything, but it also causes the ship to fall apart, as everything is just falling to pieces little by little. They're being flung out into space. Kevin is able to hold on. Ragnarok does beg Kevin to help him, and it looks like Kevin is about to, but he pulls a Batman Begins, as Kevin doesn't end up killing him, but he doesn't save him either, as he grabs the key from Ragnarok's head and just lets him fly out. So after that the ship I guess explodes or implodes. I don't know. Maybe it went back into hyperspace now that it was gone from Ragnarok. I don't know. That the key was gone from Ragnarok. I don't know. But somehow Kevin managed to get back to Earth. You could say he teleported. I don't know. And when Ben and Gwen ask him about Ragnarok, he said he just simply says he didn't make it out. And I would be lying if I said that the ending didn't make me feel a little uncomfortable, which I think was probably the intent, but I don't know. So, okay, now I mentioned last week how in this vlog I'm going to be addressing a concern that this episode brings up for Omniverse. But before I do that, I want to talk about why I have that concern with Omniverse. I'm going to be splitting this vlog into two sections. The first is just going to be talking exclusively about Ben 10 Alien Force, what in the episode, in the context of this episode, in the continuity of this show and the classic series, while the last part of the episode will be talking about Omniverse and where this episode fits in for that. So I'm gonna end up. So when I'm done talking about Alien Force, I'll pretty much do the usual hey, goodbye, goodbye, see you next week sort of spiel. But but then after I do that, you can pretty much just leave the video if you don't want Omniverse spoiled for you. If you have seen Omniverse or just don't care, then stick around. So anyway, that's all the warning I'm giving you. First, let's talk about the context of this episode. First off, I kind of like seeing this episode at least from a Kevin standpoint. I admit I didn't really have much. I don't really have a lot of fond memories of this episode. I remembered what happened in it. I remembered Ragnorok, kind of. Honestly, I kind of forgot his name up until like a few months ago when I had to look it up. Yeah, that's something I might as well just talk about that. Ragnorok is not that memorable a villain. He's just gruff and dark and wants to destroy the world because he wants to destroy the world. He wants to I don't know. The only thing I can give him is design. I really do like it. It looks creepy. He wears a all black jumpsuit that he leaves open on the neck. That he leaves open at the neck. The sides of his suit actually look like ribs, and his face looks like a skull. I like that. He has white hair. It doesn't look exactly like a skull, but he has sunken eyes. He has no nose. He's got a little mark on his forehead, and I like the sunken in cheeks. It does actually look like he's just kind of that it's either a skull or skin and bones. I like his design, but the villain is honestly forgettable. Like, there's really nothing about him that kind of stands out. I even forgot he had energy blasts. All I really remembered was that he killed Kevin's dad, and yeah, Kevin hated him for that, which is understandable. But he's really a weak point of the episode. He's really the weak point of the episode. The most of the show kind of belongs to Kevin in this episode. It's his. There's a reason the episode's called Vendetta. It's because it's all about Kevin and his personal gripe with Ragnorok. When it comes to that, Kevin, it actually is a little creepy. Like, the thing with Kevin is that even in the classic series, there was seemed to be some kind of childish delight to him. Like, he treated everything like a joke, even when he was pissed off. Even in the classic series, when he was a full-on supervillain, he was cocky, he was arrogant, he was clearly in the zone. Even when he was the only time you saw him get very angry was when he was losing. But even in the classic series, he always just seemed to be so full of himself, had a high opinion, always was so confident that things would go his way, even when they weren't. Even when he was facing people he hated, like Ben, he was just having the time of his life being a supervillain. He was both in Grudge Match when he and Ben started fighting. He not only was while he was angry at Ben, suddenly he was just boasting about how he had all Ben's powers plus his own, and that's when he called himself Kevin 11. Even in the and then even in this series, when you see that he's mellowed out, he still has that same attitude. He's still kind of a cocky. He still is confident in his abilities, and here he's just. But it's more laid back in this. But it's more laid back in the series. He's still more he's more jokey and still here in that. But this is the episode where it's actually a little creepy. Like, the instant Kevin learns about Ragnarok, the very instant he learns about him and he questions someone about it, that attitude is gone. He doesn't even make a joke. He is complete. He makes it perfectly clear at the beginning. He wants to kill Ragnarok for what he did to his dad. This is personal for him. That's where the strength comes in. You're just kind of seeing Kevin kind of sink this low. And again, he was probably lower in the original series because he was a full-on villain there. But here, this is just him kind of being serious. There's no joking around. There's no arrogance. This is him pissed off and just wanting this guy dead for the death of his daddy. And that is and it's that way throughout the entire episode. And it's actually a little unnerving because he wants this so badly that when Ben and Gwen try to help him fight Ragnarok, he tells them to get the hell out because he doesn't want this taken away from him, and he knows that if they got involved, Ragnarok's gonna walk away. And I don't mean like they're gonna let him go, no, I mean they would probably send him back to prison, but he doesn't want him in prison. He wants him DOA. He wants him gone. That is actually very creepy, and the ending is actually what kind of springs this all home. It's very disturbing just to see how far Kevin would go for this, to the point where when Ragnarok begs for help, he pretty much gives him the he gives him the censored equivalent of "up yours," and it's very disturbing, and the ending just kind of leaves me just kind of unnerved. And I think that was their intent in this episode, just to make you feel uncomfortable with the situation and with Kevin, and that's really where the strength of the episode lies. But unfortunately, a flaw with this episode is the retcon they had to do to get these emotions. As mentioned before, in Dark Star Rising, Kevin mentioned that his dad was a plumber. Well, I already talked about kind of my own problems with that, but this episode helps raise further conundrums. Specifically, that Max was Devon's partner. When did that happen? Like, why was Devon, and here's the thing, apparently Max knew about Devon's powers, that he was part Osmosian, that he could absorb energy, and even when, even in the flashback scene, when Max and Devon are pretty much pinned down by Ragnarok, Devon pulls off his glove and is getting ready to absorb energy, and Max tells him, no, you know what could happen if you do that. So he knows about the risks of using his powers, but at the same time, and he also knew Devon enough so that he knew he had a wife and kid. And apparently Max told the wife, and apparently that Max told Kevin's mom about all of this because she's the one that told Kevin about Ragnarok. But apparently Max forgot about Kevin. Maybe he never met him. I don't get that. He knew Devon, and he knew he had a family, but he didn't even remember his son. In the class, that opens a plot hole. In the classic series, that apparently Max did not remember Devon had a family, and that when he saw Kevin again, he thought, oh, that kid, I know that kid. He was the son of my dead partner once. I don't know. That opens more plot holes. It opens more plot holes. And the whole thing with Devon opened plot holes, which is part of the reason why they did the retcon with Omniverse, but that's for the end of the episode. But so, again, what they did, and honestly, that's really part of the reason why I didn't remember. That is one of the flaws of the episode. Ragnarok's one because he's honestly a forgettable villain that when he's gone, honestly, I did not remember him that much, aside from the design, and and his name, I forgot his name too. I did mention earlier that I had to look his name up about a few months ago. But honestly, that's part of the thing that's part of the thing. With just Devon, and that's really kind of it. The retcon with Max apparently knowing knowing Kevin's father, and apparently knowing about his family, and even one of Devon's things is that is to let his family know that he died a hero. Well, yeah, you dropped the ball on that one because Kevin got kicked out of his home and became a supervillain that your grandson had to fight. Yeah, you did a great job there, Maxie. And then there again, it's kind of a mixed bag for me this episode. I think it's okay because honestly, I think the strength of it lies with Kevin. Just his drive to do this. It's just uncomfortable. It makes you it actually makes you it kind of makes you not want to be around him. And the ultimate conclusion does just kind of make me feel unnerved, and I honestly think that was their intent in this episode. It's just that the problem lies in that Ragnarok isn't that memorable a villain, and just the retcon with Kevin, and just more of the retcon with Kevin's dad. So yeah, pretty much on the whole, just an okay episode. It's a mixed bag. It's really just it's really 50-50. There's stuff there that I think is actually works, but then there's stuff that I think does not, and that just does not. And the first half is seeing Kevin going through all this, which I think is nice, and that makes up half the episode. But then there's Ragnarok, who's not that great a villain in the retcon, and he's focused on just as much, and he's given just as much of importance, and I barely remember him, so yeah, make of that what you will. I think this is real. Make of that what you will. Personally, this episode's just not that memorable for me. After once it's all the only memorable part about it is Kevin's arc in it, and that's pretty much it. And that takes up 50%, but the other 50% is just blah. So I guess that's really all I have to say for this episode in terms of Alien Force. So for all of you that were only here for Alien Force, I thank you for watching, and tune in next week where I will be getting a special get where I'll be getting a guest to join me as we take a look at another magical episode of Ben 10 Alien Force. So for all of you that are leaving, I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I'll see you next week. Take care. Okay. Now, for those of you that decided to stay, this is the Omniverse spoiler section. I'm putting it at the end here because I honestly don't like talking about future series. I'm here to just talk about one series. That's why I didn't talk about some of the stuff with Ultimate Alien or Omniverse in the classic series. I'm just here to talk about this show. That's it. But with that being said, since I addressed this already in my Plumber's Helpers vlog, I think I need to talk about it again. So again, spoilers for Omniverse, though you already knew that because you're still watching the video. But pretty much, here's what happens. In Ben 10 Omniverse, they actually try to resolve the Devin Levin retcon. I mentioned how Devin Levin's existence just pretty much opens a plot hole in the show that it doesn't make too much sense. Like, if Kevin looked up to his dad, why did he become so bad? If Max knew Kevin's dad, then why didn't he recognize him, and why did he let Kevin fall so far? Well, it turns out, here's part of the explanation. It has to do with the Plumber's Helpers. I mentioned how Omniverse kind of explained away the Plumber's Helpers by saying that they actually were not Plumber's kids, that they actually had their DNA spliced with alien DNA, and that's what made them this way. Well, in this case, there is a reason. Well, it turns out there's a reason why. A scientist whose name I don't remember, because honestly I haven't seen this episode. I actually had to look it up, and I've only seen like a clip here and there. By the way, I love Kevin 2.0's design. I love it. It's an amalgam of all of the new aliens been unlocked in the classic series. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Apparently, a plumber scientist had heard about Ben, and he believed Ben was a threat. As such, it turns out that when he found Kevin and took what was left of the Omnitrix. Hold on a second, I gotta just take care of this. Sorry about that. Anyway, it turns out he took Kevin and used some of the remaining remnants of Omnitrix DNA and spliced it into these group of kids, which were in fact the Plumber's Helpers, consisting of Alan, Manny, and Helen. And I think Pierce too, but don't quote me on that. I think Pierce too. I have no idea where that alien DNA came from. And again, I might be getting some stuff wrong, but this is just me trying to remember. And he turned them into a team called the Rooters. Unfortunately, the Rooters got disbanded, and so what happened was that at least I think they got disbanded. Again, I haven't seen the episode. I looked this up, but it turns out that the guy that when they disbanded, he altered their memories so they don't remember how they got their powers. Just for them, they woke up one day and had these alien powers and have no idea what's going on. Well, this is where the retcon with Devin Levin comes in. When Kevin was sent out and had his memories erased, it turns out the scientist also got to Max. What he wanted to do is that he wanted Kevin to get close to Ben. So what he did was that he created a connection by creating a false memory of something that could get Kevin close to him. And that false memory was Devin Levin. Omniverse says that Devin Levin was never a plumber, or if Kevin's dad, or at most, Kevin's dad was not Devin Levin. And he not only did that to Kevin, but also to Max. He implanted memories of Devin into both of them so that it would be more convincing, and thus based on those memories, Kevin would become close to Ben, and thus he kind of explained that. And okay, I would buy that. I honest to God would buy that. It would actually make sense, and it would fill in the plot holes for for all that stuff, for why Kevin still became a bad guy, even though he looked up to his dad, or why Max dropped the ball so hard. And again, I would buy that, if this episode didn't exist, here's the thing. Ragnarok pretty much nullifies that retcon, because his backstory is tied directly into Devin Levin existing. Like, I've read that apparently he was a part of the project. Well, what did he do? Like, what did he do on the project? Was he just like a lab assistant? Well, and even then, why did they have him on? He was a very clear supervillain. They said he was trying to siphon the energy from the sun, which would kill the entire world. And why would they have that? Why would they have someone that does that? And clearly that wasn't a lie, because we saw his machine actually do that. We saw the energy from the sun being siphoned into his ship, meaning that at least that part was true. And why was he a part of it? Did they just integrate him in to try and make it seem more real? Well, again, why have this part? If the guy thought Ben was the bad guy, why did he get this so obvious bad guy to be a part of his stupid plan in the first place? And even then, and on top of that, there was the key. The key was a picture frame of Kevin's dad. And you could probably make the argument that maybe Ragnorok planted it there. Maybe he put it there. Maybe he broke in, made it look like he was trying to get it. Well, and maybe he faked the photo. You could easily make the argument for that. But then here's my response. There are 2 points when he talks when no one's around that don't say that. Like when he's going through Devin Levin's storage shed, he says, "Where's the key? Where did he put it?" Well, Kevin wasn't there. He didn't know Kevin was there. So clearly someone stole his damn key. And then finally there's and then of course then he's trying to say again. And then finally Kevin's mom was the one who told Kevin about Ragnarok. Not a plumber, not a scientist or some other connection. Kevin's mom. So clearly she knew Ragnarok. Clearly she knew what was going on. So how did she know if Devin didn't actually die to him? How did she know this? I want to know. Someone explain it to me. And that's really the big problem with this. I would, honest to God, buy what Omniverse did with the retcon. I really would. How Omniverse would explain how Omniverse explained away Devin if Ragnarok didn't exist. If this episode didn't happen, I would, honest to God, buy that. I would honestly buy that explanation. But I don't. It doesn't make sense when you look at the little things. It really does get to me, and I applaud the attempt. I really do, because the Devin Levin stuff does open up plot holes, but in trying to explain it away, they just opened up another one, which I think does not work. That's just really my big problem with it. That again, and it really all centers on this episode. If Ragnarok was not a thing, or if they at least took me, or if the scene with Kevin's mom, or the stuff with those, or the little moments of Ragnarok, or even just his whole plan, again, it's all centered on Ragnarok. He not only is he boring, he creates a plot hole, and it's not an Alien Force, it's an Omniverse. So I don't know. That's the big problem with it. That's the big flaw. Ragnarok's existence just pretty much craps all over how they try to explain it away. And again, if I'm getting anything wrong, please let me know. But otherwise, I don't buy the retcon simply for Ragnarok. As such, yeah, that's my big problem with how Omniverse tries to fix it. And again, I would buy it if it wasn't for Ragnarok. So, yeah, on the whole, that was my big problem with Omniverse. I already explained my thoughts on the episode. Mixed bag. 50% like, 50% don't like. Yeah, just kind of towards it. So, yeah. For all of you who stayed for the Omniverse thing, I salute you, and And again, tune in next week where I'm joined by a special guest to talk about the next episode. So, once again, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.